Hi there. It's June the 3rd, and in our journey through the book of 2 Samuel, we come to the remaining part of 2 Samuel 20, and we're going into the whole chapter 21. These are quite troubling and violent stories that we're reading here, and they are to do with political settling of the aftermath of the coup of Absalom against David and the return of Israel to King David. And we read yesterday that Sheba, son of Bichri, has led an insurrection against David, but he is being pursued by Joab, and actually Joab has just killed his rival Amasa in a bloody murder. But he pursues Sheba through Israel, and he pursues him, and he holds himself up in the town of Avel, in a region called Bet Maachah. And in Avel, Joab comes and he takes the city by siege. He surrounds the city, and it looks as though he's going to destroy the city. But a wise woman looks over the ramparts and says to Joab, "Why would you want to destroy me, a mother in Israel, and why would you want to destroy this city?" And Joab replies, I don't want to destroy the city, I'm just after one person, I'm after Sheba. And this wise woman goes to the leaders of the town, and she says, "Why should we all die?" And they actually capture Sheba, and they decapitate him and throw his head over the walls to Joab, and Joab retreats, and so the woman rescues the town of Avel. Very strange and disturbing story, but her wisdom at least turns the violence, turns the attack away from destroying the whole city and limits it. Then in chapter 21 we come to another very strange story. There's a famine in Israel for several years, and David inquires of the Lord as to why the famine is happening. And what he receives back through the word of the Lord is that there's a broken covenant involved here, that there has been a breaking of the promise that was made to the Gibeonites. Now, if you remember, this is way back in Joshua chapter 9, when the people of Israel were first moving into the land and they were conquering it. The Gibeonites pretended to be from a long distance and made covenant with Israel. Israel was fooled, and they entered into covenant with them before they found that actually they were close neighbours. They were a branch of the Amorites, and so they couldn't touch them, but they brought them into servitude to them. However, we read in 2 Samuel 21 that Saul in his day pursued the Gibeonites and killed many of them and nearly wiped them out. And so David is inquiring of the Lord, and the Lord points to the Gibeonite a breaking of covenant with Gibeonites as being a source of the problem. And so he goes to the Gibeonites and he says, "What is it that we can do to restore this situation? How can we make good the breaking of covenant, or this situation with you?" And they said, "Well, it was Saul who did this, and therefore we're asking for 7 of his sons to be delivered to us for retribution for Saul's covenant breaking." And so David takes 7 of Saul's sons. He doesn't take Mephibosheth, the Mephibosheth who he spared. There is another Mephibosheth that goes, but he's the son of Rizpah, the concubine of Saul. And so David gives these over to the Gibeonites, and they hang them in retribution for what Saul has done in breaking covenant. But then Rizpah, there's a very sad story that Rizpah goes and she protects the bodies, and David, out of sorrow, out of regret, remorse for what's happened, then takes the bodies of the 7 sons of Saul, and he also recovers the bones of Saul and Jonathan from Yabesh Gilead, where they were buried when they'd been retrieved from the people of Bethshan, when they'd been killed earlier in the battle, and he puts them all together in a tomb, in the tomb of Kish, of Saul's father, in the territory of Benjamin. And so he brings an end to that particular phase. And then at the end of chapter 21 we read of the Philistines still being a thorn in Israel's side. David goes out and leads a battle where a champion of the Philistines, Ishbinabov, tries to kill David, and David is nearly killed, but Abishai manages to rescue him. And after that, his commanders and his troops say, "We're not having you coming out anymore, David. It's too dangerous, and we don't want to use what he calls the Ner Israel, the candle, the lamp of Israel." And so after that, the battles that are fought, and they fight against these legendary fighters who are called giants among the Philistines. And but David doesn't go out with them. He is now seen as being too old to go out to battle. In these very strange stories, we do see something about the nature of consequences of our actions, particularly of the breaking of covenant. When covenants are broken, they lead to unforeseen consequences. One thing God values and requires more than anything else is faithfulness. Faithfulness to the words we speak. We also can know the good news that in Jesus he has made covenant with us, the new covenant, and even though we break faith with him, he will not break faith with us. And so there is restoration, and there is a way out and freedom through the name of Jesus, who died to set us free from all the violence and all the consequences that we read about in these chapters. Have a very good June 3rd.